China celebrates the founding of the People's Republic of China on October 1st, 1949. Since then, both China and the world have changed deeply to an extent that what happens in China and China's relations with the rest of the world has started to shape and will increasingly shape the future of all mankind and countries on this planet. As the second largest economy in the world and the world's major trading partner, China has a lot of influence beyond its borders all around the world. The coronavirus pandemic and other pandemics, climate emergency, cybersecurity, digitalization of life, the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy, the governance of artificial intelligence, inequalities within and between countries, global poverty and diseases, human development, the global military-industrial complex feeding conflicts for its markets, the international organized crime, human trafficking and terrorism, and unresolved disputes, making it difficult for neighbors to live together, all these issues present risks and challenges that can only be addressed through global cooperation. We are at a dangerous crossroads. What direction are we going to take? As we move from a unipolar to a multipolar world, with the old world still dying and the new one struggling to be born, we need to help each other to manage this turbulent transition. It can only be managed if we move away from conducting relations with each other as countries as a permanent zero-sum game. We should consider seriously what Henry Kissinger told the New Economic Forum last year. Unless there is some basis for some cooperative action, the world will slide into a catastrophe comparable to World War I. Up to 1 billion people have been killed in wars throughout human history. Other billions have been killed by starvation and diseases due to social injustices and political and economic systems that do not benefit all the people. Even during this coronavirus pandemic, it is clear that we are living in a world where we are in the same storm, but in different boats. While 57% of people in high-income countries had received at least one dose of vaccine by August the 30th, the figure in low-income countries was just 2%, according to the United Nations. More than 5 million people became millionaires across the world in 2020, despite the economic damage from the COVID-19 pandemic. While many poor people became poorer, the number of millionaires increased by 5 million to 56 million globally. According to the UN labor experts, the economic crisis caused by the COVID pandemic is expected to contribute to global unemployment of more than 200 million people next year, with women and youth workers the worst hit. Oxfam tells us that 20 million more people have been pushed to extreme levels of hunger this year, reaching a total of 155 million people. The number of people living in famine-like conditions has increased sixfold since the pandemic to more than 520,000. 11 people are likely dying every minute from acute hunger, now outpacing COVID-19 fatalities. Because of COVID-19, 584 million children are falling behind in basic literacy skills, wiping out 2 decades of education gains. By the end of last year, China had lifted the remaining 99 million people out of poverty, and it has now got rid of absolute poverty. China has an important role to play in helping other countries take their people out of poverty. Although some Western countries are critical of China's Belt and Road Initiative, many of the projects funded by BRI are aimed at improving access to electricity, proper sanitation, sustainable food supplies, accessible and affordable public transport, as well as providing for millions of jobs through infrastructure development. China understands only too well that the improvement of the wealth of poorer nations and creating a safer world environment is a great benefit not only for the world, but also for China. As nations improve their standards and the lifestyle of their citizens, they are less susceptible to bullying from the bigger players in world affairs. The world can only have a future if we do all we can to prevent it from descending into a new cycle of military confrontation. We must work relentlessly for peaceful coexistence among humankind and in the spirit of shared humanity, respecting the principles of equality, mutual benefit, and mutual respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty. While we work for the creation of wealth and its fair distribution, we must also work to create the conditions for political, social, and economic human rights to reach every person on this planet. To be able to live in dignity, every person must enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want. There should be no choice between being fed and unfree and free and unfed. To live in dignity, human beings need to be both free and fed. The world has the resources, scientific advancement, and enough technology to feed all the people, heal most diseases, and educate billions of children. It is up to the politicians everywhere to decide whether knowledge and wealth is used to liberate or enslave people, for peace and prosperity, or for war and misery. As we navigate in uncharted waters in these uncertain times, Confucius has some wise advice for all of us, wherever we are, which we should follow. Number 1, do not impose on others what you yourself do not desire. Number 2, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. Number 3, it is easy to hate, and it is difficult to love. This is how the whole scheme of things works. All good things are difficult to achieve, and bad things are very easy to get. During the last 72 years, the progress China has achieved for its people is when it has done the good things that are difficult to achieve. May China uses its political, economic, and technological power responsibly and wisely in the years to come, for a better China and a better world where more and more people live in dignity, prosperity, and peace.